Do you remember that era where it was like, oh, you're real, oh, you're fake? Like, you remember that?
You're a real one?
Like, or like, you're so fake. I feel like that's not a big thing now.
Oh, like
as it used to be. Like
a person acted one way.
Yeah.
I feel like it comes more with age. Like, I feel like as you get older, you understand that you're not going to be the same with your friends as you are with your family. And you're not going to be the same with your family as you are with your best friends. Or, you know, like, I feel like you understand that you act a certain type of way in a work environment, in a different way in a school environment, a different way at your home environment, or with your girlfriend or with your boyfriend. Like, I feel like as you get older, you understand that. And it has less to do with you being fake and more just, that's just how it is. That's
and when you're being fake is like when your thoughts and kind of like your beliefs change in front of different people. Like, if I were to just say to you like one thing, and I mean just say another thing, that's being fake.
Yeah.
Me talking, like, we have like a lot of serious talks, but I don't have a lot of serious talks with other people.
Yeah, but your beliefs don't change.
Yeah, but my beliefs don't change.
Right.
So it's like I'm not being fake.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm being different in a
different
environment. Like, you know what I mean? So
that makes a lot more sense.
That's kind of what I thought. Don't mind us, but we're about to talk about cultural appropriation in our first official episode of Don't Mind Us.
Yep.
I mean, you know, we're starting off pretty. I don't think this is the most controversial topic to talk about.
Definitely not.
I think it's something that needs to be talked about.
For sure.
But we're not just talking about cultural appropriation. We're also celebrating and introducing the audience to an artist that they may have not heard before, Ayres. Ayres.
Do you smell that?
What?
I think something's in the air.
Ah, very clever. That might even be the title of this episode. It is. Spoiler. Okay, so, or you might have seen it.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Ayres, and we're also going to be talking about cultural appropriation. Don't lump the two together. You know, we're not over here accusing. It's actually the opposite.
Yeah, and we'll get to that later.
But
first, let's talk about our homie,
Ayres.
Yeah. Who is Ayres?
I don't know. You tell me.
Do you know? Okay, I think I know.
I have no idea, even though we dedicated a whole episode to it.
Oh yeah. So Ayres is a 21-year-old R&B artist. He writes and produces his own music. That's just how talented he is. And he records his music live and plays many of the instruments himself. Now, the instruments that he does play, he's self-taught on those instruments. Like, what?
Yeah.
We see you, Mac. As for vocal-wise, he was in choir as a child and took singing lessons until around the age of 10 or 11. And he has said his inspirations to be the likes of Stevie Wonder, D'Angelo, Jay Dilla, Michael Jackson, and Marvin Gaye. And his first record was actually recorded at his house. Now, this is all according to an interview he had with Billboard.
Yeah, and if you heard our first introductory to this podcast, then his influences are on our playlist.
Right.
So naturally, I think, you know, we were gonna like his music. So, you know, his influences were on our playlist, and then we started listening to him, and he's great. Only 21 years old, too.
Only 21. I thought he was older.
I did too.
He looks
shocking.
I mean,
whoa.
He just looks mature. He doesn't look old. He looks mature.
Yeah, okay, there
for
we
his
go.
age, and his sound is very mature. So I thought he was older. So.
Yeah, it's true. His sound is very mature.
Can't believe he's that close to my age.
Yeah, so he's 21. That's shocking. He, as you said, writes and produces his own music, records live. I mean, he has songs out there to the world. Drive Slow EP.
Oh, his first EP. Lovely.
His first EP. So when was that? That was released in August
11, 2017.
Yeah, and then he had his first official album.
Yes, something
to feel.
Yeah,
something to feel. So I think right now, we're going to talk about both EPs, both albums, both projects. And we're going to just talk about songs that we like and songs that we want to introduce to you, and that you should definitely go listen to these songs.
If you want. We're not forcing. We're not forcing.
I'm kind of forcing. Come on, guys.
Let's force them. Yeah.
You heard what music we like. I think we have a little bit of something for everyone that likes this genre of music. So, Drive Slow EP. What are your standout songs on that album?
Well, it features songs like Easy, Slow Down, and Calvin's Joint. Those are definitely the standout songs on that album. Easy has like the most streams out of all those. I feel like out of all his songs, I think it was also his first single. My favorite song, though, however, on the album is "The Devil's in the Details," and it's the third track on the album, and it's just I love it so much, and I think it's kind of underrated, really.
It might be underrated because that's also my favorite song from
Is it?
him. So
on that album,
just overall, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think "Devils in the Details" is fantastic.
Yeah.
Even though it might be an underrated song,
it definitely is weird because it's only 2 minutes. It's only about 2 minutes, but it's just so captivating. Like it's just it definitely puts me in a great mood. I say a great mood, but it just makes me so relaxed. I think his voice has a way of doing that though. Like his voice, he never has to do too much with his voice, but it's always just right, you know?
Yeah.
He has a way of capturing you or captivating you, and without even having to do like a crazy amount of runs or, you know, he doesn't have to do any of that. He's just so natural for him.
Yeah, it is natural.
His voice almost blends in with the music, but it still stands out.
Right. And that, I like when artists do that. I mean, as you mentioned, like it all ties in together. There's a big thing, and as I said, I'm big into hip hop, the hip hop elements where artists, you'll hear, if you ever listen to Kendrick Lamar on Blessed, he was featured on that song with Schoolboy Q. His voice becomes part of the beat. So it sounds like a collective sound rather than someone just like talking to you or rapping to you. So it becomes one collective sound. So that hip hop element of using your voice as an instrument ties into Mac Ayres with his collective sound. Like this, he's like almost calming you down. It's natural. It's just everything feels together. It's almost cloudy in a way. You know, it's very nice
for sure. And it's definitely, I would say the same with the fourth song on that album, "Slow Down." Like that's probably my second favorite off that album. "Slow Down" is definitely like, just like you said, it's like a cloud. Like in that chorus, his voice kind of goes up a little bit, and it's a little like at a higher, it's like at a higher pitch, and it's just so effortless and just. I love it. That's all I can say about that. I love it.
Yeah.
Also, I love Mac Ayres because he liked my tweet. Shout out to Mac Ayres.
I mean, maybe that's why we're talking about him first.
No,
that's not why.
We genuinely love him. But I did tweet him, and he did like my tweet, so I'm famous now.
You know, talking about Mac Ayres on Twitter, I did see one of his latest tweets.
Really?
Can I read this to you?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So. It kind of ties into us a little bit.
Oh, snap.
Would you ever talk about nuclear physics to a nuclear physicist? I would ask a lot of questions, try to absorb something rather than just talk out of my about nuclear physics. And I swear that's how some of y'all act in music. Stop talking and just listen, and so many things will become clear.
Oh.
Is he talking to the critics? We're not critics.
No.
We're just talking about his music. We're celebrating him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but for me, "Devil's in the Details," "Easy," and "Calvin's Joint" are the standouts in the Drive Slow EP.
For me, I would have to say "Devil's in the Details," "Slow Down," and "Calvin's Joint."
Yeah, and so we both have "Devil's in the Details" and "Calvin's Joint."
Yeah.
So we both have something in common, and those are two songs that you should definitely check out.
Yeah.
"Something to Feel," his first official album.
His first full-length album.
Yeah, his first full-length album, "Something to Feel." I'll start this off with what songs I like on this album. So,
what do you like?
Before we compare the two,
we'll
talk about some of the Phil standouts. "Next to You," I really like that song. I think that one just stands out to me.
It's also like more upbeat than his songs. His songs are normally like really slow, and I find in this album he had like 2 or 3 songs that were just a more upbeat. And it was also less about like love and romance, but we can get to that later.
Which is a nice switch up, you know.
It is a nice switch up. I love it.
So "Next to You," "This Bag," which I don't know if we both have this one as a standout, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
No, but "This Bag." So I think with both "Next to You" and "This Bag," I really, in the SoundCloud era, he's not a SoundCloud artist at all. Quite the opposite. But SoundCloud really brought about like 2-minute songs, and with Mac Ayres, he has these short songs, or quote unquote short, with 2 minutes, 2:30. But I think that really helps with just how simple that the songs can be, and how it helps with like the replayability. that's big for me in music. Just being able to replay it.
Oh yeah, like I don't want to listen to a song once and then get tired of it.
Like I like Frank Ocean's Pyramids. But it's long. I love that.
It's very long.
It's long.
I'm just waiting for that second part. Honestly.
But so for me, like Next to You in This Bag off Something to Feel by Ayres is just, it really helps that it's short, it's simple, and it's nice. And I'm not saying his music's simple, because a lot of work does go into it with the live recording and with him writing and producing his own music.
Yeah.
So,
and then I hate to like kind of go off subject, but you said like the amount of time, the length of the songs, like we're definitely kind of getting to that era where it doesn't need to be like 4 or 5 minutes long to have a good song. You have artists like Tierra Whack, who just put out her album earlier this year, and the entire album is just 15 minutes. Each song is 1 minute. Now, after each song, I get really angry, and I'm like, oh my god, like I wish she just added a little bit more to this song, but it definitely says something. Like they're putting out music they're putting quality over quantity when it comes to these songs. Yeah. And I really love it.
And there's something so great. Like you do feel fulfilled, but you also feel like you want something a little, like you want more of it.
Yeah. So, and then you just replay it 1,000 times. And you just
replay it. So
I think that's what they want.
Yeah. It works. It's great music. And then Under, for me, is my last standout off of that. So Something to Feel for you.
For me, the standout songs would probably be Under and Roses.
Yeah.
And yeah. That's probably it.
Yeah, Under and Roses. We can
get to You Again. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Get to You. I'm sorry. I actually have it in my notes that Get to You is my favorite. Okay. Get to You Again is probably my favorite off the album, and then it would be Under, and then Roses.
Okay. And are those in order from on the rank? So it would be Get to You Again first, number 1 off of Something to Feel. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the difference in these albums: the Drive Slow EP and the first, full length album, Something to Feel. So the difference in these albums. And I'll refer to his Complex interview, his interview with Complex. So for me, I think this explains it when I compare the two projects. So he said to Complex, I used to worry about how other people will listen to my songs, but I only felt free as a songwriter when I started just playing what I wanted to. And I think you can hear that he's making music that he wants to make. Yeah. Off Something to Feel, because it feels more mature and it definitely feels more free, and you have songs that are a little bit different, like Next to You on there. So, and he has the lyric on Something to Feel, the song. Yeah. The self-titled song. So he says, "Boy, don't go hiding, you got something to feel."
Yeah, for that one, definitely for that one, I kind of want to talk about what did you think? Do you think he was like talking to himself, or?
Yeah, well, this is interesting because is he talking about himself? Is he talking about relationships and romance?
And he's known for talking about relationships and romance. I would say Drive Slow is more. I feel like that's kind of like the biggest difference to me was that Something to Feel kind of went into something a little bit different. It went into different topics and different. Yeah. It's a little bit different, from Slow Down, where I feel like it was mainly about romance and relationships.
Mm-hmm. I just listened to Something to Feel right before you came here.
Me too.
So I listened to Something to Feel, and artists do this all the time, where you think a song's one way and it's different. Look at The Weeknd's Can't Feel My Face. A lot of people, on the surface, it's a song about how he's with a girl and like he's so happy to be with a girl that he can't feel his face, but in reality, the song's about cocaine. Yes. And if you did not know that, it did take me a couple times. It took me a few times to actually realize that the song was about cocaine. It was about drugs. So
he could not feel his face.
Yeah, he could not feel his face.
On the drugs.
Yeah, on the drugs. So, and even he admitted that on his song Reminder off of Starboy. So he said that song was about a bag of blow. So artists do this where it's like you can open to interpretation. You can interpret it however you want. So off Something to Feel, Boy, don't go hiding, you got something to feel. Yeah. He could be talking about a relationship. He's like, hey, don't go after her. You have something to feel. Go chase that feeling with the girl, or go chase that feeling in your career, in your music. Like, why are you don't hold yourself down to music you think they want to hear. Make what you want. Make what you feel. So on Something to Feel, but then we talk about This Bag.
Someone that was like a theory that he could be talking about drugs. Yeah, but I feel like that's kind of too literal. It's like, I'm gonna spend this on this bag, So, but like you just like you said, it could have that double meaning where he could be talking about something else. You know, he could be talking about drugs. He could be talking about
investment opportunities.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he could be investing his money into like a restaurant or something. I don't know. Like,
but yeah, he definitely talking about something else. And as I mentioned, I listened to Something to Feel right before you came here, and you did as well. And I was listening to the song Waiting. So that could have, waiting, for a relationship, or don't go waiting for someone. If they don't like you, they don't like you. Right. But don't go waiting on opportunities in life. So like, I feel like these songs definitely have open interpretation to them, and the artists like to do that. So that's great from Mac Ayres. Yeah,
Mac Ayres is an amazing artist. I like his sound a lot. And so, which album do you prefer?
I prefer Something to Feel.
You prefer Something to Feel?
Yeah, I can listen to it straight. I don't really skip any songs. There is an interlude on there which you can't skip because it's not a song. So I think like for interludes. Me, Something to Feel. But I think you feel a little different.
I do feel a little different. I prefer Drive Slow, actually.
Oh, why? Why do you prefer Drive Slow?
And it's funny because one thing I would agree with him in an interview with Billboard, he did say that he feels like his album Something to Feel is a little bit more mature. His sound has kind of matured from his first EP, Drive Slow. And I kind of agree. His sound has definitely matured. However, I prefer Drive Slow because Lewis, you may know, but that's just the type of music I like. It's more slow. It's less like I said earlier on Something to Feel that there's like 2 or 3 songs that might be a little bit more upbeat, as opposed to Something to Feel. I want to say all of them are pretty slow. Do you think? Or I think just Should We Take the Van is a little bit. It's like the only like playful song on the album. Yeah. But that's the album that I can literally listen to back to back. I probably listen to it every day. Yeah. Well, maybe not every day, but every other day.
We stand, right?
We do. I stand. Yeah. I don't know if you stand. We all stand.
I'm standing right now. I'm standing because you introduced me to Mac Ayres.
I'm sitting down, standing.
Yeah. But I wanted to mention a positive from both of these projects. What? And when we say we prefer an album, it's not like one's bad and one's good. Yeah, exactly. It's just what we prefer.
They're both lovely albums. So, I listen to Something to Feel. I don't even skip a track. So
there you go. So the positive from both of these projects, it might be, I don't know, like random but Drive Slow is only 9 songs and Something to Feel is only 11 songs. Yeah. And that is great. I love an album.
I love a short album. Don't give me a 16. Yes. You hear that, LMA? Don't give me an album with 16 songs. Quavo, no. We're Chris
done.
Brown, no.
Drake
giving
us 25 songs.
That's just too much. Come on, we get it. You're in the studio. Cool. Make good music though.
Yeah, no, I love 10 to 12 tracks.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
An album. So I think that's a positive that we can take away from these.
After listening to Drake's album, I'm exhausted. Yeah, I cannot go back and listen to the whole album again. Like, I don't know what Chris Brown was thinking.
And it's almost like when you listen to a longer album, you have to like take time out of your day, to listen to the album.
That's
and
like the whole day right there.
You don't want to feel like that when you listen to music. You don't want to feel like you have to
with Mac Ayres
cut
album,
out a chunk of your time.
Right. I listen to it when I'm in the shower. I'm just like, just getting ready to go to school or go to work, wherever I'm going. Or I'm in the car and I can listen to the album and I can feel refreshed. I don't have to feel like drained. But with 25 songs on an album, I have to, block off a whole section of my day. I have to put this in my planner. I need to listen to this new Drake album, and then after by the 10th or maybe the 16th song, I'm just like tired.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
Especially when it first releases. I feel, I just feel like I'm not as excited when I see a longer track list.
For sure.
I want to say this. I've been disappointed more by longer albums than I have by shorter albums. Mm-hmm. So definitely shorter album is the way to go for both of us, really. Yeah. So you're going to get a positive from both of us if your album is 10 to 12 songs.
I mean, it's just in the math. Like,
it's in
the math. Quality over quantity, my guy.
Too,
it's in the science. It's in the physics. It's in
everything.
It's in all of that combined, Like, everybody knows that if you get an album that has, that's why I like EPs, for example. Like, they're always just like 4 to 5 songs, and they're always good. Yeah. I say always, but for the most part, they're good. As opposed to when you get an album that has like 16 songs on it, it's just like, you have those songs that are just not it. That ain't it.
And I don't want to be skipping songs.
Yeah, so. I don't want to be skipping. I want to love every song of this album, you know?
Exactly. I just want to cherish every single one. So I want to read Mac Ayres' Spotify biography now. So Mac Ayres is a self-taught producer, singer, and multi-instrumentalist from New York, drawing inspiration from the likes of D'Angelo, Michael Jackson, and Stevie Wonder. Mac has created a sound that pays homage to his idols while remaining distinctly his own.
Distinct, very.
So this is important. So in these albums, you can definitely hear the Stevie Wonder influence through his music. And he's also noted in an interview earlier this year that Stevie Wonder is like everything to him. And that's his number one influence. But you feel like with other artists these days, they don't necessarily take the time and the energy to really pay homage and note that these are our influences. Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, D'Angelo, we're influenced by them.
Yeah.
So
I noticed that also with like a lot of rap artists now too.
Yeah. So it's more of capitalizing and taking, which leads to cultural appropriation.
Our hot topic, you know.
Yeah, cultural appropriation in music. It's definitely something that needs to be talked about because it does exist.
And before we start, you know, we just want to have a disclaimer and say Mac Ayres is not a cultural appropriator, and we do not think so. The reason we tie this into it is because he's just been quoted as having like a soulful
white
R&B sound.
That has a soulful
and
R&B sound, which is
it just got us thinking like there are a lot of white artists with this soulful R&B sound, and are they culturally appropriating? You know, you got Justin Timberlake, Robin Thicke, Sam Smith, Ariana Grande.
Yeah, are
they culturally appropriating?
Let's explore this topic. We're not here to accuse. We're not here to say one thing's or another way. You know, of course, we're going to just dive into this topic, explore this topic. So we have to take it back to the beginning, LaShayla.
Well, I just kind of wanted to, before we go there, I kind of want to talk about how like cultural appropriation has definitely been a topic for a while now, obviously. But I definitely think it kind of died down, you know, with the racism, you know, just everything else going on. But it definitely kind of died down, but it kind of got back into like headlines earlier this year after Bruno Mars won like every Grammy there was for R&B, you know, topics or music during the Grammys, the 2018 Grammys.
I do want to define cultural appropriation for the audience that does not know what cultural appropriation exactly is.
Yes, if you don't know, you should know. Just joking. We understand. Sometimes
that's
it's hard.
Why we're here, you know. People will not do the research, and
research can be hard.
So we're here with a 10-page outline.
If you hear me flipping through papers, I'm just looking at my notes. Don't mind me.
It's LaShayla's notes right there. So cultural appropriation.
Cultural appropriation is basically when a dominant culture adopts aspects of the minority culture and claims it for themselves. So it's like if you are part of the dominant culture, aka white people, we're just kind of being honest and frank here. And you just, you know, there's a hairstyle, you know, that was kind of made popular by Afro people, black people, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna wear this hairstyle, but I'm gonna call it something different, and it's gonna become cool and stylish, and it's become the next new thing, and then it becomes the next new thing, and you rename it, and you don't give the credit to the people that invented the hairstyle. Then it's cultural appropriation.
I'm setting this trend.
Yes.
You're not. You're capitalizing, right?
You're capitalizing off of this trend.
So that goes into the Bruno Mars conversation in 2017. So we can start there.
Yeah,
with
definitely.
Cultural appropriation.
So I just kind of remember there was this big conversation that kind of went on when it came to Bruno Mars, and this activist and writer named Saren Sensei, a video of her went viral online of her basically kind of talking about whether or not Bruno Mars was a cultural appropriator. And I have a quote right here, and I'm going to read that quote.
All right, let's read it off.
So she says, what Bruno Mars does is he takes pre-existing work and he just completely word for word recreates it, extrapolates it. He does not create it. He does not improve upon it. He does not make it better. He's a karaoke singer. He's a wedding singer. He's the person you hire to do Michael Jackson and Prince covers. Yet Bruno Mars has an Album of the Year Grammy, and Prince never won an Album of the Year Grammy. So that's kind of an interesting take that she was basically on the side of, yes, he's 100% a cultural appropriator. I remember seeing the video, and that was the first thing I heard was Bruno Mars is 100% a cultural appropriator. And definitely on Twitter and on social media, it was definitely split, I would say.
Yeah, it was a little 50-50 there.
Yeah, it was
Bruno Mars.
It was for sure split.
Because I know where I stand on the
and
Bruno
then
Mars conversation.
Right. And so we're kind of going to go into what we think,
but
first let's just kind of break down the details. And I'm just going to kind of talk about what it was that he won at the Grammys, because he won big in this was in 2017, but it's the 2018 Grammys. Was this year or last year?
I'm not sure, but let's read it off. He definitely won some Grammys.
Yeah, he definitely won big in the 2018 Grammys. To start off, he won Song of the Year for That's What I Like, and he was against people like Logic, Julia Michaels, Louis Fonso, Daddy Yankee, and Justin Bieber, and Jay-Z for 444. So he was against some big people, and he won Song of the Year. He also won Record of the Year for 24K Magic and Album of the Year for 24K Magic. So
I will say that's the wrong Jay-Z song to put for Song of the Year.
Really? Which
Story
one?
of OJ. If they would have put that song, that might have won. It probably wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
But in my eyes, it should have won.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So going into on top of that, he won Best R&B Album for his first album, 24K Magic, and he was against Daniel Caesar. His album Freudian. How do you say it? Freudian.
Yeah. There we go. Pronunciation.
He was against Ledisi for her album Let Love Rule, Music Soul Child for his album Feel the Real, and PJ Morton, shout out to PJ Morton from New Orleans, for his album Gumbo. So he won that for 24K Magic. He also, the same year, he also won a Grammy for Best R&B Song against Location by Khalid, Redbone by Childish Gambino, and Supermodel by SZA, and he won that for his song That's What I Like. That's What I Like really won a lot. Yeah, people love that song.
Yeah.
And then lastly, he won Best R&B Performance for the same song, I believe, against Kalani for her song Distraction, Ledisi for her song High, Daniel Caesar and Kali Uchis for their song Get You, and The Weeknd by SZA. And it's just interesting because these are really big names in R&B today, especially Daniel Caesar, SZA, Khalid, however you say his name, Childish Gambino. But these are really big names in R&B, and I think that really got the discussion just kind of... I'm sure there was already a discussion. There's always a discussion. Mm-hmm. But that's why Bruno Mars was the topic of that discussion.
Yeah. I think that's probably our most recent conversation when you talk about cultural appropriation of music was the Bruno Mars conversation back in 2017. And I mean, it's still probably ongoing. I mean, we hear it on the podcast right now. It's still ongoing.
I think it was mainly in I think it actually happened earlier this year. So in March of this year. So, yeah. And what?
I just want to rattle off. Well, did you have another thought before I get to other examples of what might be cultural appropriation?
Nope.
I want to get into other examples of what might be cultural appropriation or what people think is cultural appropriation. So we had the Bruno Mars conversation in 2017.
Yes.
Then we have Beyonce and Coldplay. Very interesting because we talked about white culture stealing from black culture.
Right.
Well, here we have a little bit of a different situation with Beyonce and Coldplay. So Justin Charity from Complex explains the issue of their music video of their song Hymn for the Weeknd. Basically, Coldplay and Beyonce went to Mumbai, and the music video is shot with a lot of imagery from the Hindu Holi Festival of Colors. The music video features Chris Martin running around with local children and sort of throwing dry coloring and dye. Yeah. And Beyonce is also in it, and she is basically a Bollywood actress. She's adorned in lace and bangles and henna, and this is all somewhat strange imagery to associate with either Beyonce or Coldplay.
Definitely.
So
we love Beyonce, but that ain't it.
That's probably not it, right?
That ain't it.
Yeah. And when asked why the formula keeps working for artists, here's what Charity had to say. So that's the MO of artists. Once they engage with pop culture on a certain level, it's to find ways to commodify imagery that's interesting to people, even if that imagery is interesting to consumers at a great distance. So there's definitely a battle with artists feeling like they have to stay within the spotlight of pop culture and stuff like that. So they have to reach more audiences. And in order to do that, they feel they have to tap into different cultures.
Yeah. And, I feel like in America, sometimes I feel like some people feel as though we don't have enough culture. So then they're like, oh, let's just you know, reach out and use someone else's culture and, you know, make our stuff, our art or whatever more interesting, but not necessarily pay respect or homage to the original artist or the, you know, the culture itself. Like when it comes to Him for the Weekend, that video was definitely kind of offensive. Even though Beyonce's the largest name in music right now, she definitely was appropriating that culture. I've never seen her be associated with Bollywood or Indian culture. So yes, you know what I'm saying? She's never previously been like, oh, I appreciate this, I respect it, I've assimilated into this culture.
Or her music has shown any sign of, you know, the Indian culture as well, or that sound. So it definitely was cultural appropriation in that video. Right,
and I definitely think that's where the problem comes, where you have these artists and like Miley Cyrus, going into Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, let's get to another example. Miley Cyrus and her twerking period of time.
Yeah,
that was weird, definitely. But yeah.
It definitely was weird, because it's interesting how I guess she was kind of just not, you know, she wasn't as big, you know, like she was big, obviously Hannah Montana, but then she kind of went to a period in which she was kind of gone, and then she just kind of revived herself into this whole new like persona, this whole new person, this twerking country queen, I guess, where she's just twerking with people, you know, just sticking her tongue out, twerking on, who is it, Robin Thicke, and look, I'm not here to shame women for twerking, because that's not what I'm gonna do. No. All right, what I'm gonna say is that she capitalized off of that. She turned to Black culture, yes, we can say, just the idea of it, and just her sound, I guess, at the time. Was it her sound? But I mean, you look at the song "J's on My Feet." Is it called that?
Yeah,
J's on My Feet.
I think so. Yeah,
with Mike Will.
I mean, we're not Miley Cyrus fans.
Yeah, but J's on My Feet. That was with Juicy J and Mike Will made it, and so, you know, she's in a Jordan dress, a basketball dress with some Jordans on, and who do you see wear that? Black women, right? I mean, yes, I think she 100% like capitalized off of Black culture, and once she got to a good place, you know, she got to where she wanted, she left. She just like left, and then now she's back, but she's back to this wholesome,
back to where she was originally.
Yeah, and I think the problem with that really comes in is, why do we see Black culture as this negative thing, right? Why does her image, quote, like, become bad because she's twerking and because she's, you know, singing with rappers and she's listening to rap music, and that's the problem I have. That kind of goes into our talk about the music industry.
Yeah, we'll talk about success in the music industry. And before we do that, Bruno Mars, when you talk about, is he a culture appropriator or not, I feel like he's not. I gotta say, I fall on the side that he's not a culture appropriator. I feel like he does appreciate the culture that, you know, Prince and Michael Jackson, you can definitely hear the influences. I mean, he's noted and has said that these are his influences. Bruno Mars, I think he's an appreciator. He's spreading the culture, you know, definitely on the radio stations and Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your music. Younger audiences will hear Bruno Mars before they will get to Prince or Michael Jackson. Right. So maybe that'll lead them into Prince and Michael Jackson because they might show up on the recommended or anything like that. So Bruno Mars, is he groundbreaking? No. Is he doing anything different? No. I don't think.
I think that's where the biggest issue came from for a lot of people, is just
like, why he's having success.
Right. Like he just like kind of dropped off the face of the earth, and now all of a sudden he's like has 1,000,001 Grammys.
Yes, and we'll get to success. I just feel like he's more of an appreciator, but he's not doing anything like this groundbreaking or anything like that. He's spreading the culture rather than taking it as his own, because it's just he's said his influences before.
Right, he's credited people.
Yeah,
he's never said this is, you know, I've invented this music. I mean, nobody says that, but he doesn't act as such. He doesn't act like that.
Yeah, so Bruno Mars, I'm okay.
He's not culture appropriate.
Yeah, it's okay. I know I said we weren't here to be like, oh, is this to say how it is? But I guess we're here to say how it is, really, because Bruno Mars, I don't think he is. Ultimately, that's what this is. I mean, we're just exploring. Yeah.
And then when you go
our thoughts as well on this.
Right, and so you have these artists like Bruno Mars, and you also have like white artists. Bruno Mars is not white, but you have non-black, racially ambiguous white, and then white artists, rapping. They have they're singing R&B, and they are doing really well. So, what is the reason why they are doing well as opposed to artists who've been out for a while now, such as black artists, such as like Ledisi, Layla Hathaway. And don't get me wrong, these artists are doing well, but you don't normally hear them. You'll hear Bruno Mars, you'll be suggested a song by Bruno Mars before you be suggested a song by Ledisi, right?
Yeah.
Like on the radio. So it's like, why are these artists doing so well? And they deserve to do well, but I think it just kind of goes back to the history of just the American music industry, in which you had, I watched a documentary on the history of rock and roll, and in that documentary, it kind of talked about how these black artists would perform songs, but the radio stations, obviously, they wouldn't want to play the music. And so what would happen is they would get white artists to perform the exact same songs, and those white artists became famous. They became well known for these songs that black artists created. You look at Elvis, who people still call the king of rock and roll. However, there were people like Fats Domino, Joe Turner, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard, Ike Turner. I mean, they had people like this already doing rock and roll. So why does he get the crown of king of rock and roll, right? I mean, his sound was very similar to them, and he did in one interview kind of credit his sound to artists like that, or in his words, the Negro sound. That was the words then. But yeah, so you kind of, I would say like this has definitely got us to where we are today in the music industry, where we have artists that have lighter skin tones if they're black, or racially ambiguous or white, doing a lot better than black artists who invented the sound. I say invented the sound, but than these black artists.
And that's where we get to success. Why are these lighter skinned artists having more success than darker skinned artists? Like, why is that? And people can get obviously mad at this because it's a real thing that's happening. Colorism. But are they too quick to claim it as cultural appropriation?
Yes.
So that's where it's like, instead of accusing them of cultural appropriation, do we look at the larger product as colorism? Like, this could be a larger issue that we need to talk about with colorism that's happening. I mean, Quincy Jones, Tinashe, Wale, just some notable names that have spoken out against this. And I don't know about you, but if Quincy Jones is saying that colorism is real, he's been around long enough to see everything.
Yeah.
And he knows.
Yeah.
So if he says colorism is real, then colorism is real. I mean, and you can just see that with Bruno Mars winning so many Grammys. And with, this is the one that hurts me, Macklemore winning album of the year, rap album of the year.
Beyonce was robbed.
Macklemore won a rap album of the year over Kendrick Lamar.
Beyonce was robbed.
So
that's all I'm gonna say.
And definitely with these award shows, it's a popularity contest.
Oh yeah, for
Macklemore was getting more radio play.
Bruno Mars
is getting more radio play.
Yeah.
So you give. Do I think
awards, I feel like, I mean, the thing is, it's like,
why are they getting more radio play? It's because of colorism that's happening.
Right. And the thing is, like, when I listen to Bruno Mars, I don't necessarily think R&B. I think pop.
Think yeah.
Like,
he's more in the pop.
Yeah. What is that name of that song? The Wake Up song. What is it called?
Oh yeah, Lazy Day or something. Yeah,
the lazy song.
Yeah, the lazy song.
Like, Bruno Mars is not R&B. Like, I mean, I don't want to. Okay, let me not make that a definite statement, but
he's more pop and funk,
right?
Than I would say he.
So him R&B. Winning that over like Daniel Caesar, SZA, Ledisi, PJ Morton. That's a lot.
that's a lot for us to process. Right, right there. Yeah. Because I mean, we just love those artists.
Yeah, and then also kind of going back to when you said like Tinashe and Wale. Wale spoke about. He had an interview with the Breakfast Club, and in that interview, he said that he felt as though he's not as big because he has darker skin. Now, a lot of people were a lot of people on Twitter were saying, like,
Welcome to Twitter, the podcast.
Right. A lot of people on Twitter were saying, wow, Wale, your arm must really hurt because you are reaching. They said Wale was reaching with that statement.
Is he reaching with that statement, though?
Honestly, I think when we think about colorism, for a lot of times the conversation kind of comes in when we're talking about women. So I feel like a lot of people feel like colorism affects women more, and not really. I think when it comes to beauty, yeah, but in general, it's like I don't doubt that there's some truth to what he was saying. Mm-hmm. You know, I personally don't. I do listen to Wale a little bit. I think he's a good artist. I think did he?
I just don't think. Look, for me with Wale, I just don't think he's putting out the quality of music that a Drake is putting out. Like while Drake doesn't put out collective albums. I mean, we'll talk about this in a future episode, but I'm just gonna say my thought right here. What Drake doesn't put out cohesive collective albums that just string together perfectly. It's more of like a playlist of good songs. Yeah. I do think Drake is putting out more melody pleasing and melodic
and also the times
songs than Wale, and
his style changes with Drake changes like
and he's definitely more influential as an artist.
Wale's kind of stayed the same throughout his whole career.
Yeah, so definitely. Oh, that's a good point.
He's a great lyricist. Like he's a good rapper, but his music is like when I listen to like some old Wale versus new Wale, it's like almost the same.
Yeah, cut and dry. That's what you're gonna get.
Right,
but Drake, you kind of never. But kind of know, but he does switch it up. He does switch it up.
Yeah, but I have no doubt that colorism kind of plays to an extent, kind of plays into that. But also the reason I went back to that was like talking about Tinashe. She kind of goes against what we're talking about, really, where in her statement when it came to colorism, she said that she felt as though she's not successful because she has lighter skin, and that's interesting considering that a lot of people would say, no, if you have lighter skin, you're going to be more successful. I mean, I personally just don't think that, I know you're going to fight me for this. Okay. I don't think that she's putting out the music for it. I don't think she's putting out.
I do enjoy a good amount of her songs.
Yes. I just don't think that she's putting out the music that people want to hear. And I think that's why she's not. I definitely think she kind of has to look for it. Yeah. The music industry tends to kind of go towards more lighter people, which is problematic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not agreeing with this. She definitely has that look to get her to to superstardom. I mean, she's, but I think her music is just not there.
Yeah. Well,
2 On was a bop.
Yes, cannot deny.
It was a bop, but I feel like people are going to know her as a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. Well, let's not. Okay, but I just want to say that, like, on the topic of colorism, and we'll get back to cultural appropriation, but on the top, colorism does tie into this whole music industry success. Right. Well, I mean, why are lighter skin artists having more success? Are they culture appropriating, or is it because of colorism in the industry? So when it comes to colorism, I feel like SZA is a better example than Tinashe, because SZA is putting out quality music, right? But she's not seeing the success of like a Rihanna or a Beyonce.
And Rihanna cannot sing.
Though in SZA's Control album, I've enjoyed more than any other Rihanna album that I've heard. So for me, I think SZA does deserve more success, but is colorism kind of like holding her down? That's something that definitely needs to be talked about. Right. But let's go back to cultural appropriation. Yeah. This is a topic. It does exist. People are quick to put that label on someone. I want to talk about Ayres and Pac's interview on Hot Ones. It's a series on YouTube where they eat wings. Yeah. And have you seen it?
No, you told me about it.
Yeah. They just sit, interview, they eat wings. Each wing gets spicier with each sauce. So the questions get spicier, the answers get spicier. So Ayres and Pac was talking about on Hot Ones on YouTube. He said he noticed white people were taking race songs. Like early on, when you're talking about like Elvis, taking from Chuck Berry. Yeah. So white people were taking race songs and turning it into rock and roll. Yeah. Ayres and Pac noticed that. So he would flip it on the other side and cover bands like Coldplay, Yeahs, and the White Stripes. He made a whole album pretty much. I think it's called Cover Art, where he's just covering white artists and white bands and flipping it his own way. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, Ayres and Pac definitely acknowledges that it's happening. Cultural appropriation is in the industry. It's definitely happening right here, right now. And so here's the line where we have to establish cultural appropriation versus appreciation.
Right.
So Mac Ayres, appreciation.
Appreciation.
I mean, he's said it multiple times. Stevie Wonder, like that's his influence. He credits his sound to Stevie Wonder, and he's putting out quality music. Mac Ayres definitely spreads the culture rather than taking it as his own.
And he's just talented, right?
So, like, where do we draw the line with other white artists like Robin Thicke, Sam Smith, Justin Timberlake?
Well, I mean, you look at Robin Thicke, you look at Justin Timberlake, and they're probably on the line. I feel like they're like on the line, you know, like they have that voice, you know, and I'm sure I haven't done the research, so I don't know if they credited anybody else.
Well, Justin Timberlake, in an interview in 2009, credited Michael Jackson with desegregating people through his music, and he's influenced by Michael Jackson.
Okay. I'm
just going to leave that.
They there. All do that.
I'm just going to drop that one in there. You don't have to take it for... You just take it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely, I feel like they're kind of on the line when it comes to... Because, I mean, when I hear them on R&B stations, but I can probably also hear them on, like, pop stations. You know? Especially with Robin Thicke, his song... What is it?
Blurred Lines?
Blurred Lines. I heard that on R&B stations. I heard that on pop stations. I heard that everywhere. And I feel like that's a luxury a lot of black artists don't get when it comes to, like, I've heard black artists, like, not complain, but just kind of, you know, say that they feel like that's kind of a problem. Like, you know, you're black and then all of a sudden you're under the R&B genre exclusively. And it's like, a lot of artists feel like they may not just create R&B music. Sometimes they don't even label their music, but because they're black, they're only played on R&B stations, they're only played on hip-hop stations, and they don't get that airtime on pop stations where a lot of people listen to, more people tune into it, you know what I'm saying? So that kind of, so when it comes to like Justin Timberlake and Robin Thicke, I think they kind of benefit from that like privilege, you know, that they have. You know, they're putting out R&B music and getting it played on pop and R&B stations.
Well,
and they're reaching to a broader audience, which also goes into the conversation of racism and colorism. Right? Yeah.
Can I read you Diplo's thoughts?
Yeah.
A white DJ and record producer.
Please
He's been accused of cultural appropriation.
Yes.
So he's been accused of cultural appropriation with his use of reggaeton and dancehall sounds in his music. So his response to that was, what kind of music am I supposed to make? Being a white American, you have zero cultural capital unless you're doing Appalachian fiddle music or something.
That's his opinion.
I'm just a product of my environment. When it comes to my music, understand my intentions are always great. I'm there for the music only. I have a lot of privilege by being a middle-class white American.
What else am I supposed to do is kind of ignorant. I don't know, like just being like, what else am I supposed to, like, there's a lot of things. Don't y'all have dubstep? Like, there's a lot of things y'all can do, like you can do. You made the decision to tap into these other cultures that you've not, appreciated from, I'm assuming that he hasn't really...
say his intentions are always great.
His intentions, okay.
But what comes out as the final product.
Right.
So, I just wanted to drop that in there, you know, because he did say, like, you know, being a white American, zero cultural capital. I did think it was funny, the Appalachian fiddle music or something. I did think that was funny. But, yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. Honestly, he's pretty self-aware. I gotta be honest, but does that excuse it? That doesn't excuse it.
Yeah.
Is the thing. Like, being self-aware doesn't excuse you of, like, settling. It seems like he's settling because he knows he can capitalize off of it.
Exactly.
That's what it almost seems like based off those comments. So, I just want to talk about, does cultural appropriation happen in the music industry?
Right.
Yes.
So, going back to kind of like the Diplo thing, I think my problem kind of comes into play where, you know, you have these white artists that do produce this sound. They might use, like, you know, reggaeton, dance hall, rap, you know, just whatever. And they produce this music, but then they become more popular than the people who come from these places, right? Mm. So it kind of reminds me of Drake with his song Nice for What and what's the other one? Nice for What and...
Which songs?
Nice for What and Kiki.
Well, Drake could be accused of culture appropriation.
Kiki, Do You Love Me?
Oh, okay. In My Feelings.
Okay, yeah, In My Feelings and Nice for What. I don't know. I wouldn't jump to culture appropriation, but it definitely kind of rubs me kind of the wrong way. Just as a person who kind of listened to New Orleans bounce growing up, just how all of a sudden this guy from Canada, he's like, oh, let me just create the song. I mean, in a way, it's like, don't get me wrong, I would say it's more of an appreciation because he did film the In My Feelings video in New Orleans, and he did feature artists like Big Frida, I forgot who, I know he had City Girls, but they're not from New Orleans. He did feature artists like Big Frida, a New Orleans bounce artist. Mm-hmm. So in a way, that definitely is kind of appreciation. And then when you look at the In My Feelings in the video, it was actually shot in New Orleans and showed people, from the city. And Big Frida was also in the video. So in a way, that I guess that would be appreciation. Just when you have like these white artists or these non-black artists, like I said, like Diplo, that just kind of rubs me the wrong way when they're doing better than the artists who are from there. Yeah. And like some people argue like, well, going back to Drake, well, he's kind of put New Orleans on the map. He kind of introduced a lot of people to New Orleans bounce, which is true. But are these people going back and listening to Big Frida? Are they listening to Sissy Nobi? These artists from New Orleans who invented the sound, who created the sound, are these people going back and listening to it? I feel like you said, intention is a whole lot of, it's very important. Yeah, it's and important. Was he intending to draw people to the bounce sound? Was Diplo, it was his intentions to draw people to reggaeton, or did he just want to capitalize off of it? That's true. That's very true. So that's a good point. So that's kind of what rubs me the wrong way when it comes to that. Yeah, definitely with Drake's music, when people can, accuse him of cultural appropriation because he does, Jamaican. Yeah. He's been all over the sound, the reggae sound, but he's been all over the place. Like British artists as well. Yeah. He had that on his More Life playlist, is what he calls it. It's not an album, guys. It's not an album. It's a playlist. It's a playlist. So Jamaican, British. He just released a Spanish song where he's singing all in Spanish. People roasted him for that. With Drake, as you said, his intentions, it's almost leading people to this kind of music. Because on More Life, on that playlist, he has solo songs with just British artists on there. Okay. With like I think Skepta on the song, on his song. So he dedicated a song on that album or playlist, whatever you want to call it. He dedicated a whole song with no Drake in it, just to a British artist. And when you talk about his like his reggae and Jamaican music, I mean, he's getting like Jamaican and reggae artists along with him. Yeah, like Beanie Man. He's definitely introducing, and with the Spanish songs that he has, they're with there were Spanish people, so he's definitely introducing the sound. He's definitely spreading the sound as opposed to taking it for his own. He's not necessarily capitalizing on it. I kind of disagree when it comes to like well, sort of maybe. On what do you disagree with? I was going to disagree when it came to like In My Feelings and Nice for What, but I mean, just thinking back to it, like I said, the In My Feelings video was shot in New Orleans, and it definitely paid homage. I mean, he attempted a New Orleans accent. Did you see the video? Yeah, I did see the video. Oh god, that was horrible. Drake's always been an actor, I mean, he's a good actor, don't get me wrong. But the accent was just trash. There, right? So it was so trash. And then so I guess you could say he is kind of leading people to listen to these bounce artists. However, for then you think about Nice for What, where it wasn't shot in New Orleans, it was just a bunch of female actresses or women actresses on the video. So with that one, I would kind of I don't know, because he is paying homage. He is showing people, for sure. So he's appreciating. I think I take that back. I definitely think he's appreciating New Orleans culture. But yeah, just kind of. So let's kind of go back to like colorism. Oh, okay, yeah, we can go. Yeah, we can go there. Let's go there. People don't talk about it. People don't talk about colorism. Let's go back to it. What do you got? What is colorism? I'm gonna define it for y'all. Yeah, in case you came with the definitions.
The Webster
actually didn't.
The Webster don't mind us. Actually didn't. We both have our laptops right in front of us. All right.
Yeah, like I'm looking it up right now.
But colorism to us, I mean, if we were to define it, is when.
If I had to define it in my own words, it's basically just. Well, I'm gonna actually read the dictionary definition. It's prejudice or discrimination against individuals with dark skin tones, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. So, yeah, basically exactly that. You're prejudiced or you're discriminating against people of the same, normally in the same ethnic group. So colorism is a thing that happens in the black community. So when we're talking about colorism, when it comes to music, we definitely see a lot of more light-skinned artists soar rather than darker artists. You look at artists like Mariah Carey, who is half black, half white. She's definitely, she's been around for a while, since the 90s. And every time she's done amazing. Yeah. You look at Ariana Grande, who's white. There's literally a joke going on Twitter that people call her a black woman, and it's just like, I've seen that. Yeah, and it's just like she's Italian American. She's not a black woman. It doesn't just take a soulful voice to be a black woman. It's definitely a lot more sacrifice, and you also have to look a certain way. Sorry, Rachel Dolezal. Like, you have to look a certain way, and it comes with a lot of stuff. So I wouldn't recommend her. I wouldn't recommend that to her. But you have artists like these that are doing exceptional. Ariana Grande just put out her album Sweetener. It's considered an R&B album. You think she's gonna win some Grammys for that? Probably. Let's just be honest.
I mean, that goes back to the popularity thing as well.
Right. Going back to the popularity thing, but I think when it comes to just these record labels, they like to promote these lighter artists, these non-black artists, these racially ambiguous artists, these white artists, because non-blackness sells, right? They have the image that they can promote to white audiences. They can get white audiences to tune into other white artists, and they're like, look, play this good music. And these artists are already playing good music, R&B, right? Not just R&B, obviously, but music that is here today because of black people. All music technically, but that's another topic. Yeah. All American music technically, but that's just another topic. That's another topic for another time.
Yeah.
So these artists like Ariana Grande, like Bruno Mars, they are palatable to white audiences, to white people. And you see that not even just in music, but going back to colorism, just in your everyday. I've noticed white people are more comfortable, talking to or approaching a person of color who is lighter skinned as opposed to a darker person. Darker skinned people get these negative stereotypes attached to them. And you also see that in music, where you have these darker artists, they have to fit, in order for them to soar, they have to fit this stereotype of they're a rapper. You got Kodak Black, you got Migos, Young Thug, they have to fit this image or this characterization of what they think of what white people think it means to be black, right? J. Cole said this in his song 1985. You're portraying what white people. He doesn't say this word for word, but he's like saying, like, you're portraying what white people think it means to be black. You have these chains, you have all this, you have these cars, you have these girls, you have these, just everything that people think, these white kids think it means to be black. And I've said that like 3 times, but.
Say it.
Yeah, but it's just, we have white artists, Sam Smith, Adele. They have the look, they have the image. Well, let me not bring Adele into this, because I feel like her stuff is not really R&B. Same thing with Sam Smith. Yeah. We kind of talked about this earlier about him having these black choirs and these choirs in his songs, and I just kind of thought about that, but whatever. But
that's probably paying homage, as we
mentioned. Maybe has he said it? I don't know.
We don't.
But yeah, just kind of going back to these Ariana Grande's, the Bruno Mars, they present that image that record labels can sell. They can sell them to these white audiences, and on top of that, they're also able to sell them to black audiences and other people of color, right? Mm-hmm. So in turn, these artists tend to do exceptionally well, as opposed to artists like SZA. SZA's doing great in the black community. I'm sure she's doing, okay with white people. But I'm just saying, you got artists like SZA, Daniel Caesar, Xavier Omar. These artists who are just R&B artists, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not, but at the same time, they're not on Ariana Grande's level. They're not to Ariana Grande's stardom. Yeah, and then some people like to argue Beyonce. Well, Beyonce, she came up at the right time. She had the right management, and she had the right look. She's light skinned. I mean, she had the right look. She's extremely talented. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
she is where she is because of, right, but also her music is not exclusively R&B. I would say she's gravitated towards pop a lot more.
She even made a country song,
right?
On Lemonade,
right? Than her previous albums. So you don't argue Beyonce. That's like a bad argument.
Yeah, come on, no. Leave Beyonce out of this conversation.
Leave Beyonce out of it.
Yeah, but I just want to say, you know, we talked about like cultural appropriation and like colorism. You know, why lighter skinned artists are doing more successful than darker skinned artists, and that studios can sell them. They're more marketable to people, you know, just in people.
Yeah.
I just want to say that when you talk about like Mac Ayres and you talk about James Vickery,
mm-hmm.
then you get to, you know, Justin Timberlake, Robin Thicke, and Sam Smith. And when you first hear them and you're like, is this cultural appropriation? Like, I just don't be so quick.
You think people do that?
I don't know. Like,
just like chilling. Oh, I love Sam Smith, but is he culturally appropriating right now?
I don't know. I honestly don't
should
know.
I cancel him?
Like, should I cancel him? I don't know. Like, but that's what, I don't know. It's just Bruno Mars. Like, it's crazy how that came about
mm-hmm.
to me, because I never listened to his music,
right? And
was like, he's cultural appropriating, but
or I've never listened to his music and be like, wow, he needs like 15 R&B Grammys right now.
So that's where it gets weird. Like, people probably do like see a person that they think is cultural appropriating and put that label on them instantly.
You just have to.
It's just
think
hard.
Deeper.
You just dig deeper. Like,
think deeper into it. It's definitely racism. It's colorism. It's all of the above.
Yeah, I mean, it all exists.
Right.
Like, it'd be ignorant to be like, it doesn't exist.
Right.
They're just putting out good music.
If people say racism doesn't exist, I don't know what to tell you, because
that's just ignorant, right? So
that's funny. Like, I will laugh in your face if you say that. All right.
Well, you're not getting it from this end of the table. So I'm just don't be so quick to put that label on them, because these people are actually paying homage to the art. Like, Mac Ayres is doing it, and you can't. Is he as successful? He only has like 5,500 followers on Twitter. Right. He's not like, I mean,
he's successful, but he's not
successful,
like
but
he's not like Sam Smith, Ariana Grande.
He hasn't reached a mass audience yet.
Yeah.
So
he'll get there though.
Again, Mac Ayres stands over here, but yeah, they're spreading the culture rather than appropriating it. Does it?
Yeah, and we're not denying that these artists are incredibly talented. Like, I think Ariana Grande is very talented, but it's just, you have artists like you have these artists that put out these pop songs in the past, and then they put out one song where they have a run, and all of a sudden people are just like, oh my god, R&B artist, queen, like the best R&B, queen of R&B right here. And it's just like, no, like, you guys are already dominating every other chart. Like, can we just have this thing for ourselves? And I'm not saying only black people can be R&B artists. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just, people have dedicated their entire careers to putting out music that is predominantly in the R&B category. And then let's talk about that category. Like I said earlier, it's just, I think sometimes these categories can also kind of prevent artists from becoming a lot bigger than they can be. You know what I'm saying? So you have this R&B, like I said, a lot of artists don't even like to be, I feel like a lot of black artists nowadays don't even like to be considered under the R&B, in the R&B category, because it just limits them. Because then their songs, like I said earlier, it only gets played on the R&B stations, as opposed to when Ariana Grande puts out a song, it's played on the R&B stations and the pop stations, where there's a lot more people and a larger audience there. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
No, go off.
Yeah, but go off.
Go off, queen.
But I mean, that's all I kind of have to say about that, Ariana. I'm not trying to.
I mean, we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have. We've definitely
covered a lot.
We've gone all over the place, and I guess.
I mean, this is how our conversations are. We just wanted to put two mics in front of us and just talk about this, because this is something that should be explored, like cultural appropriation in music.
What do you think can be done to where artists who rightfully deserve to be, awarded for their work, where do you think
like, how does Kendrick Lamar win Rap Album of the Year over
Macklemore? How does Beyonce win over Adele? Like, how
do we get there?
Yeah, how do we get there? And like you said earlier, I mean, award shows are just popularity contests.
But why are they popular? Is it because of color?
I mean, they're also ran by like white men. So
is it?
So I mean,
there's a lot to unpack. It's just, we'll tie this up in a nice bow.
I mean,
coming down to it,
right?
I would say, what can be done? Mm-hmm. That's hard. I feel like because it feels like we're still far away from that.
Yeah.
Because of the recent conversations with Bruno Mars, even Post Malone has been accused of it.
Yeah, and the thing is, he doesn't even identify as a rapper.
Yeah, he's just putting out music.
Right. And the thing is his music is played on rap stations.
I don't think that's his fault, though. I just think he's putting out music. I don't know.
Okay, I don't have a problem with his music being played on both, but I have a problem with other rap artists who put out similar content like Post Malone, and they're only being played on rap stations. Mm-hmm. If you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like, it just feels like we're still far away from that.
Right.
We're still far away from a solution or like avoiding or like stopping this. Like, it feels far away because of the recent conversations that we've had with Bruno Mars.
I mean,
and other artists, as we've mentioned,
right.
It's just, it feels far away. Mm-hmm. I wish that, everyone can get their credit and everyone, but it's just, that's not the world we live in, and it's unfortunate.
I feel like the only way is
that's the conclusion.
Yeah, I feel like the only way is just that it's up to the listeners. It's up to y'all to kind of branch out a little bit when it comes to discover other artists that they're similar to the music you like, but reach out, branch out. Yeah,
if you like an artist,
right,
see who he's influenced by, so you can get other recommendations.
Exactly, and black people sing in all genres, so you know what I'm saying. Like, there are talented black artists in all genres, not just R&B and hip hop. Don't be closed-minded about it.
Yeah, like I used to listen. I still listen to Stevie Wonder, but years ago I would listen to Stevie Wonder, and then you introduced me to Ayres. And then we did our research into Ayres, which got me back into listening to Stevie Wonder.
Right.
So, as you said, as a listener, dig a little deeper.
Right.
It is a lot to ask because a lot of listeners get their music, this may be a shock to you, just on the radio. So, I know. But
y'all not streaming yet? What about Spotify? They are not sponsoring us.
Yeah, not sponsored podcast. But audiences do only get their music from radio.
Yeah.
So that's all they hear, and it's scary. Yeah. So and
then radio has a lot to do with like I said, racism,
and it has a lot to do with like artist success.
Right. When you're only playing music that could be considered multiple categories on one station because of the color of their skin, that's a problem.
Yeah, I would say, for getting to the conclusion of this is just branch out, like you said. If you like an artist,
don't just listen to the radio, please.
Yeah, if you like an artist,
if you have the ability, please maybe discover like some type of streaming. YouTube is an amazing free source on the internet. If you have the ability, if you don't have a computer, you go to the public library, get you some headphones, search up Ayres for starters.
Yeah, search up Ayres.
And then second, search up Xavier Omar, and just explore the beauty of music. And you don't have to listen to the type of music we're suggesting. Don't get us wrong. Like, you do not have to listen to that. I think you just have to broaden your mind and expand your mind when it comes to your music, and not just music choice, but music artists. Listen to listen to black artists. Listen to people of color. Listen to POC artists. Don't just listen to white artists.
And it's hard.
You're the problem if you do. Sorry.
It's hard for me to say like, don't pay attention to skin color because like we said it before. It plays a factor to people. Yeah. That the skin
in their success.
Color, does matter when it comes to success, but like seriously, all music boiled down to it's what's going through your ears and not through your eyes. As weird as that
Feel
sounds.
it.
Yeah, you know,
yeah.
It's like
Close your eyes if you have to. Feel it.
Yeah, but honestly, just like you shouldn't be bothered by it. But you know, we would want you to dive deeper and listen to other artists and give artists their due, because like they're honestly putting a lot of work into this. Like a Mac Ayres, who has spread the culture. He's not taking it as his own, but like Mac Ayres led me back to Stevie Wonder.
And then you have these talented black artists who are putting their all into their music. You got Masego, Sir,
Masego,
Levin Cali,
as well, and then
there's Rex Life Raj, there's
her.
Oh my goodness, her, SZA, Ravina, not Ravina. She's not black. Sorry, Raven Lene. That's what I wanted to say. Raven Lene. The internet. The entire internet, like all of every single like member,
internet, and then the members of the band.
Yeah, Sid, Patrick, Steve Lacy, and the other two.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's we want to get to that point where we're celebrating.
Yeah, and then
music.
We're at the end of the podcast, but just to kind of let y'all know that this is our first episode, and we plan on covering a lot of different artists, their art, and a lot of different topics. So
we're definitely diving deep into this. It's just celebrate music, celebrate black artists for what they're doing.
Yeah. This is a very
that shouldn't be
small
a lot
portion.
To ask. That shouldn't be a lot to ask for. I'm not saying like, I'm not asking you to do a whole lot. Like, audiences don't want to go out there and do the work. Like, if I tell them go celebrate black artists, they'll be like, oh, I have to go out of my way to celebrate.
No.
It's just not. It's just go listen to music.
They're black artists in the genre you like.
Guess what? You'll like it because other people have been influenced by it and make music off of, influenced by it. So you'll like it. I'm telling you. So just to tie it all up, we talked about cultural appropriation, talked about colorism, the success in the industry, like what's going on in music right now on the topic of cultural appropriation and also colorism, because it's very real. And also, intention matters, guys.
Yeah.
Intentions matter. We started with Mac Ayres. We'll end with Mac Ayres.
Mac Ayres.
Mac Ayres. Here's an example where it is not cultural appropriation because he acknowledges his influence. He's not claiming
it's pure talent.
The genre and style of music as his own. Ayres is spreading the culture, not appropriating. Artists that you may have accused of cultural appropriation, maybe they're paying homage and spreading it, but there are artists that are capitalizing off of this, and that we should acknowledge that and try to stop it, try to avoid it. And just I don't know. I feel like I'm going off a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, coming back. Mac Ayres. Mac Ayres.
Put some respect.
I'm gonna put some respect on his name.
Yeah.
Mac Ayres is amazingly talented. He's definitely talented. A wonderful voice, great music, and we both agree that we don't think he's culturally appropriating. Bruno Mars, we don't think he's culturally appropriating, and they're more so appreciating. And like you said earlier, just support black art. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, there you go. And
don't mind me, but support black art.
And don't mind me, but don't be so quick to accuse. I want to say, I think that when artists, when they're little and you can tell like they want to just make music based off what they've heard and stuff like that, just don't be so quick to accuse of cultural appropriation. Like, because it exists, but it's not like all the time. Like every artist is cultural appropriating off of
every
the sound,
single
like
artist.
every single one, and like Mac Ayres.
Technically, since American music was invented by black people,
but I think Mac Ayres is doing a great job of spreading the culture, not appropriating. So don't mind me, but listen to Mac Ayres.
And don't mind me, but support black artists.
There you go. You can do both. Don't mind us, but we hope you enjoyed this episode. The first official episode of Don't Mind Us.
Yeah. Bye. Tune in next week.